Sadhguru, it is said that Adi Shankara entered the body of a king and inhabited it for a length of time. Is this actually possible? If so, how? What kind of yogic mastery makes such a feat possible?
It is not really such a feat. Adi Shankara got into an argument with a man. He won the argument. Then that man's wife maneuvered herself into the argument. You know woman. And Adi Shankara is a certain level of logic. You shouldn't argue with a man like that. But she negotiated herself into the argument saying, "You defeated my husband, but he's not whole. We are two halves of the same thing, so you must also argue with me." How can you beat this logic? So, argument started with the woman. Then she saw she's losing. Then she started asking him questions about human sexuality. Shankara said whatever he said. Then she went into more details and then she asked, "What do you know by experience?" Well, Shankara is a brahmachari. Then he knew that this is a trick to defeat him. So he said, "I need a month's break. We will hold the argument at this level. We'll start from here after a month. Just give me a month." So he went to a place where there was a cave. He went inside the cave and told his disciples, "No matter what happens, do not allow anybody into this cave because I'm going to leave my body and look for another possibility for some time. Whatever happens, don't let anybody enter this cave." Then it so happened, a king was bitten by a cobra and he died. When a man dies, or even a woman when she dies, we have told you about the pancha pranas. If I go into this detail, it's a very technical question. Are you interested in all this?
Yes.
Oh. Then we have told you about how the life energies manifest in five qualities. The prana is happening in five different dimensions. It is called pranavayu, samanavayu, apanavayu, udhana and vyana. These five manifestations of prana have distinct functions to it. Pranavayu is in charge of respiratory action and thought process and the sensation of touch. When someone dies, how do you check whether someone is alive or dead? You check his breath has stopped. When one's breath has stopped, you say he is dead. The breath has stopped because the pranavayu has begun to exit. After the breath has stopped, it will take up to 1.5 hours for the pranavayu to leave completely. But still the other four dimensions will be there. This is why It was set up after the breath stops, you must wait for 1.5 hours minimum before you cremate someone, because he is still alive in many other ways. Only thing is, we want to wait till his sensation is gone so that he doesn't feel the burn. So we are very compassionate. We wait for 1.5 hours so that his thought process, his respiratory action and his sensations are gone. That's not the guy we're talking about. Now, the remaining part of the prana will still be there, and the vyana, the last dimension of the prana, could last up to 12 to 14 days. Wherever there is no sensation, whichever part of your body where there is no sensation, you must understand that part of the body has no pranavayu in it. Right now, if you take your hair, if you do this, there's no sensation. Only if you pull it this way, there is sensation. Because here there is no pranavayu, but still it grows. This is the reason why even after somebody is dead, even for a corpse, after few days, still the hair growth happens, nail growth happens. Do you know? Are there any undertakers? No, I'm just asking if it's your profession. After one is dead, up to 12 to 14 days, hair growth will happen, simply because this can grow just with vyana. With simple maintenance of the system, it'll happen. Though other parts of the body may begin to rot, still vyana functions. So, when Shankara left his body, he left his vyana in the system because his body should be maintained. And the king who died of a cobra venom. When cobra venom enters your system, what is happening to the system is your blood begins to coagulate. When blood becomes thicker than what it is, when blood begins to coagulate, breath becomes hard because hello? Breathing and circulation are very directly connected. When circulation becomes difficult, it becomes hard to breathe, so you… Oh, please give me a gooseneck microphone. Your breath will stop well before your pranavayu is exited. In many ways, this is an ideal condition for one who wants to… When somebody wants to enter that body, it's ideal. Normally it would give you only 1.5 hours time, but when a person has got cobra's venom in the system, it will give up to 4.5 hours time. So Shankara got this opportunity that there was 4.5 hours time, so he very easily entered that body and he was there to answer these questions experientially, so he went through that process. But the king's people, there were some wise people there. When they saw a man who they had declared dead suddenly sits up and full of energy, and they could recognize by his behavior, it is not the same person, this is someone else in the same body. So what they did, they sent soldiers all over the city saying, whoever is dead, wherever you see a body, burn it immediately. Because now the king has come alive, he should not leave and go back. So soldiers went looking everywhere, any body, anywhere, just burn it quickly, so that if that is the person who has come here, cannot go back, so we still have our king. A different guy, but he looks the same, so what? So is such a thing possible? Yes, very much possible. Is it a feat? It is not really such a feat. A little bit of understanding of the mechanics of how life happens within you. Now, if one wants to enter a living body, someone who is alive, to enter that would take a lot more. To enter one who has just exited, that's much simpler. Within first 1.5 hours, it's ideal because the necessary vacuum has happened, at the same time everything else is on. This was… this used to be a common, not very common, but almost everybody would have heard that something like this happened somewhere. So this is the reason why when somebody's breath begins to recede, in India, they always keep them just outside the house, they will put samrani and they will start chanting something. This is one thing, is to comfort the one who is departing. Another thing is to ensure that somebody else doesn't usurp the body. So, many methods and many protections were created so that these things don't happen. There are many ways to see that such things don't happen, but today it is such a rare occurrence that now you started referring to it as a feat. So maybe you would like to see it happen, but most people are dying with tubes and needles stuck all over them, so I don't think that'll offer much of an opportunity because their breath is not theirs. The machines are breathing for them, so we should go and check and see whether still prana is still on or prana is gone, they're just keeping the breath on through a machine. This is something we can check. I think it's very much possible, even after pranavayu is completely gone, they're keeping the breath going on and extending it by a few days or hours because it adds up into nice fat bills. It's good for the economy.